Hello everyone, my name is Trevor Selescu and I'm the owner of Monster Hobbies in High River, Alberta, Canada. Well, today I'm here to talk to you about
Night Goblins!
Here's a concept that I don't think anyone has ever thought of before. Army building, using the Age of Sigmar models in a similar way that you would use as building a Magic the Gathering deck. So join me as we look through the war scrolls for this nice little Night Goblin Army that I have here, and we'll get going. So the nice thing about Warhammer Age of Sigmar is that every model is represented with a war scroll. Each war scroll has keywords in it, and if you'll notice, certain keywords will work with certain other keywords. And as you read through the armies, you'll see these keywords reappearing in different spots. And like other systems, Magic the Gathering, all these keywords will stack together in that game for cards. With Warhammer, the keywords also stack. So let's examine some of the models and how these keywords interrelate with each other. The first thing to note is that all Night Goblins fall under the Moon Clan keyword. The Moon Clan keyword stacks with other Night Goblins, so that our little Night Goblin war boss can affect various different Moon Clan models, which in essence is every Night Goblin. Along with this, his friend, the Night Goblin Shaman, also affects Moon Clan units. We'll get into that in a minute. So the way that the Night Goblin war boss affects the rest of the Night Goblin Moon Clan is that he has the command ability, I'm the boss, now stab him good. If a Night Goblin war boss uses this ability, you can select a Moon Clan unit within 20 inches. Until your next hero phase, any wound rolls of 6 or more for that unit inflicts double damage. So how does this look? Well, here's our tape measure. And here's 20 inches. So you get a very long range. All Night Goblins count as a Moon Clan unit. So that would mean that his area affects these spearmen, the Shaman, who's up here, and all these Night Goblin archers that are standing behind them. All of them. You have to select one. But all of these Moon Clans could benefit from that one ability of getting any wound rolls of 6 would inflict double damage. So it depends what kind of creature you're aiming for. If you're aiming for a large monster, you might want these guys to get the double damage because they've got the range. Or if you're coming up close, your spearmen. It's all how this stacks. Now we'll just take a brief look at the Night Goblins themselves. This is a regular unit of Night Goblins. It starts with 10 models, but I have 20 on the table. You can make one of them into your boss, which would add 1 to any hit rolls. Now standard bearers have been changed for Age of Sigmar. You can now, depending on the standard that your army has, it will have different abilities. One of the standards is the regular Night Goblin flag, and the other one is the Bad Moon icon. Now, this is the fun part. Starting there, a Goblin flag. You can add 2 to the bravery of all models in a unit that includes any Goblin flags as long as there are no enemy models within 3 inches. So that would mean that if they're coming across your tabletop and they take some wounds from arrow shock, or getting hit with arrows, in the battle shock phase they can add 2 to their bravery, so they wouldn't lose so many models in the battle shock phase. And now we switch up into the Bad Moon icon. With the Bad Moon icon, you can add 1 to any save rolls for a unit of Night Goblins in the shooting phase if it includes any Bad Moon icons, as the leering yellow face sucks away light and shrouds the gobos in a shield of darkness. This guy makes this unit the ability to hit it with an arrow from an enemy it increases it so that they're actually harder to hit if they have this icon. So these are things to consider as you're building your army. I'll just put that back there. If you're building your army of Night Goblins. Also, any of the Gong Bashers can add 2 to the run rolls. So if you need to run across the board, your movement is 5, you roll a dice, you can add 2 to whatever that is. So 5 plus 2 with that banner, with the Gong Bashers, plus your roll. So that is a pretty good, way to run. Also, Moon Shields. Talking about them. If your unit has 10 or more models, your save roll will go from a 6 up to a 5 up. And then here's your strength in numbers. A backstabbing mob. It's loads easier to stab your enemy in the back when he's surrounded by your mates. You can add 1 to all wound rolls made in the combat phase for Night Goblins if the unit has 20 or more models. If they had 30, this is 20 now, but if they had 30, you can add 2 to all these rolls instead. That's something to consider. Also, if you're going to go for 30, you might as well do 40. Because, as I said before, if these Night Goblins are getting shot at with arrows from range, there's a strength in numbers. You want the 30 to go across the table and get these guys to give them the double, or the wound ability. If you only have 30, you're only going to come across that with 20 by the time you get to the other side of the table, if they're getting under massive amounts of fire. So this is where you want to build a bigger Night Goblin unit for your army. This is the final model I want to talk to you about in this video. This is the Night Goblin Shaman. Although he doesn't fully affect other Moon Clan units on his own, he is effective on different parts of terrain and other features, as well as casting his own spell. This is sort of a model that you can use as a terrain modifier model, and I'll explain this in a moment. However, this little mushroom eater can eat madcap mushrooms, and if he does, you can add 2 to the casting roll if it's successful. However, on a 1, this guy hallucinates. A Night Goblin Shaman is a wizard, and that's one of the keywords in the War Scrolls. Wizard is a very important keyword, actually, and this is how wizards affect and can be affected on terrain features, just by having that wizard keyword. This Night Goblin Shaman can cast the Curse of the Bad Moon. With a chilling howl, the Shaman summons a great pale moon with a leering face, tusk-like fangs to attack the enemy. The Bad Moon has a casting value of 8. If you successfully cast it, select a visible model within 18 inches. That model's unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Then you roll a dice for each other unit within 6 inches of the target model. On a 4 or more, that unit will also suffer D3 mortal wounds. So he's a little killer with that spell, but it can also go bad. If you cast it on a model that's attacking your Night Goblins, you can actually kill off some of your own Night Goblins with the Bad Moon. But it's a bad moon, man, just like the song says. So now you may be wondering how this one little innocent-looking Night Goblin Shaman could cause so much trouble. Well, if you happen to have one of these printed off for free, your Warhammer scenery book, you'll notice that certain scenery items are really disastrous if a wizard can get to them. Baleful Realm Gate. Commanding the gate. If there's a friendly wizard or priest within 6 inches of the Baleful Realm Gate, when a unit attempts to move through it, you can re-roll the dice for any models that get lost. The model is only lost if the second roll is a 1. So that's a part where he affects a Baleful Realm Gate. That was kind of a nice little thing for your army. However, this is interesting. Arcane Ruins. I'll show you the model with a Night Goblin on it. So here it is, turn number 2, and our Night Goblin Shaman has been able to run across the board and get onto your model of the Arcane Ruins. What happens now? Well, because he is a wizard with the keyword, you can add 1 to the result of any casting or unbinding rolls made for a wizard within 3 inches of the Arcane Ruins. He starts to buff off of this model, the Arcane Ruins. Absorb magic. Roll a dice each time a unit within 3 inches of an Arcane Ruin suffers a wound or a mortal wound caused by a spell. All of a sudden he gets spell shielded. On a 5 or 6, magical energy is absorbed into the runes themselves, and that wound is ignored. And then Fell summons. As soon as this Night Goblin wizard gets on here, he knows the Summon Doom Spirit spell, in addition to any of his other spells. Actually, if he's 10 inches away from the Arcane Ruins, he gets this. This is how deadly these little wizards can be when you get them stacked up. Summon Doom Spirit spell. Casts on a 7. If you successfully cast it, the wizard captures the tormented spirits of warriors slain at the ruins and binds them to his will. A spirit host consisting of 3 models. Three models is added to your army as a new unit. Set up this unit within 5 inches of the ruins and more than 3 inches away from an enemy unit. You see how this works? This guy could keep summoning up these little guys. Now I know maybe Night Goblin unpainted ghostly gray. Perhaps these guys are not very good as a little spirit hosts, but keep in mind that these 3 little guys could tie up an enemy unit for at least 1 turn while the enemy unit is dealing with trying to destroy these guys. And every time this wizard, this shaman gets on here, in each of his hero magic phases, he could keep summoning this stuff, as well as his own Curse of the Bad Moon and anything else. So this is where, although he's not directly affecting the Moon Clan, he is able to use the boss's sneaky stabbing thing. So when he gets into combat, which you never really want to have happen, he could actually get that little bonus. But as a wizard himself, you want to have them in there so that you can start summoning all this stuff on different pieces of terrain. And look through that Warhammer scenery book. There's other terrain, and see how priests and wizards and totems, which are your standard bearers, affect that sort of terrain. It's amazing what Age of Sigmar has done, and how you could use this as just a campaign itself. Imagine just having this guy as your army, and he's summoning all these hosts, so your enemy is being tied up. The possibilities are amazing, and that's what I like about Age of Sigmar. So I hope you enjoyed this video with
The Night Goblin Shaman.
and everybody else, and we'll see you soon at our store, playing in our league, having fun, and just going crazy. Thanks. Goodbye.